The world did not turn dangerous suddenly. It turned dangerous while America was looking away. For years, the United States believed one thing: if a great war ever came, industry would rise on command. Factories would surge, weapons would flow, allies would be armed. That belief is now cracking. In Ukraine, ammunition disappears faster than it can be replaced. In the Red Sea, million-dollar missiles chase cheap drones. On paper, America is powerful. In reality, production moves slower than modern war. This is not a story about technology. America still designs the best weapons on earth. This is a story about something more basic. Can the United States still build at scale, on time, under pressure? Because wars are not won by blueprints. They are won by factories. If you want to understand where real power comes from in the 21st century, stay with me. What we uncover next explains why this crisis stayed hidden for decades and why it now threatens everything that comes after. To understand the danger, we need to be precise. This is not about losing wars today. It is about sustaining wars tomorrow. America's defense problem is not on the battlefield. It is behind the battlefield. In the industrial base, for years, the system assumed short wars, fast victories, minimal consumption. That assumption shaped everything. Budgets became unstable. Production lines shrank. Suppliers disappeared. Stockpiles thinned quietly. When demand dropped, factories closed. When factories closed, skills vanished. When skills vanished, speed disappeared. Meanwhile, the nature of war changed. Conflicts became longer, more attritional, more industrial. Ukraine exposed the gap brutally. Modern war burns through weapons daily, not monthly, not yearly. And the United States discovered something uncomfortable. It could design faster than it could build, approve faster than it could deliver. This is the core problem, not intent, not money alone, but time. To see why time slipped away, we have to go back to the decisions that reshaped American industry decades ago. The story begins after victory, not after defeat. When the Cold War ended, America exhaled. The enemy collapsed, the threat faded, a peace dividend followed, factories consolidated, bases closed, production slowed by design. Efficiency became the goal. Redundancy became waste. Surge capacity became unnecessary. The defense industry shrank to match the moment. Fewer suppliers, fewer workers, longer timelines. Global supply chains filled the gap. Cheaper, faster, more efficient on paper, and for a while it worked. Wars were short. Precision mattered more than volume. Quality beat quantity. Then the assumptions aged. Budgets turned unstable. Continuing resolutions froze planning. Small suppliers became single points of failure. Munition lines were turned on and off because demand came and went. Over time, no one remembered the full supply chain. Not at the factory floor, not in the C-suite, not in Washington. The system optimized for peace. Then war returned. And the first stress fracture appeared not in strategy, but in production. The breaking point arrived quietly. Then all at once, Ukraine did not just fight a war. It stress-tested an entire system. Every day, artillery fired. Every day, shells vanished. Not by hundreds, by thousands. And suddenly, numbers mattered more than narratives. Ukraine was burning through 155-millimeter shells faster than the United States could replace them. What was once a monthly production target became a daily battlefield requirement. America looked at its stockpiles, then at its factories, then at the calendar. The gap was shocking. This was not a failure of courage. It was a failure of preparation. Munition lines had been treated like faucets. Turn them on, turn them off. No steady demand, no steady investment. Factories optimized for profit, not persistence. Supply chains stretched thin. Single suppliers quietly held entire systems hostage. Only after the crisis did money arrive. Robotics, new lines, workforce expansion, progress followed but slowly. Because industry does not surge on speeches, it moves on timelines. If this insight matters to you, don't lose it. Because what failed in Ukraine was not unique. It was a preview, and next we look at the deeper machinery, the hidden mechanisms that made this outcome inevitable. Beneath the shortages sits a system problem, not a single mistake, a design flaw. The defense industrial base mirrors the broader economy. When manufacturing weakened, defense followed. When skills disappeared, production slowed. Research moved too. Once the Pentagon funded most innovation. Now, the commercial world leads. Software first, hardware later. That shift changed incentives. Weapons became more complex, more exquisite, more expensive. Requirements piled up. Each new demand added weight. Time stretched. Costs climbed. Meanwhile, small suppliers carried big risk. Single factories, single skills, single failures. They depended on unstable budgets. Continuing resolutions froze plans. Factories waited, workers left. Shipbuilding shows it clearly. Designs exist. Money exists, but welders do not appear on command. Automation lagged. Allies moved faster. Japan, Korea, America optimized for efficiency, not resilience, not speed. So when war demanded endurance, the system hesitated. This is how strength erodes, quietly, systematically, and once the machinery slows, even power struggles to catch up. Next, the pressure rises again. As modern warfare accelerates faster than production ever planned for, the second shock is happening now. In real time, modern war is getting cheaper and more dangerous. Drones swarm, missiles intercept, costs collide. In the Red Sea, the math is brutal. $1 million interceptors against weapons built for a fraction of the price. The exchange rate favors the attacker. This is not a tactical problem. It is an industrial one. High-end systems still matter. They deter, they dominate, but they cannot fight alone. War is becoming attritional again. Volume matters. Persistence matters. Cheap systems multiply. They exhaust defenses. They force decisions. The United States understands this. That is why attritable autonomy matters. Systems designed to be used and lost. Not perfect. Not priceless. Replaceable. But here is the tension. Designing these systems is fast. Fielding them at scale is not. Prototypes cross desks easily. Factories are harder to move. The danger is not losing the first fight. It is running out during the second. This is the moment where strategy meets reality, where ideas face production, and next, that reality reaches you. Not in budgets or factories, but in lived consequences. Now bring this closer to you, because when industry slows, consequences spread outward. You don't see factories. You see prices, delays, uncertainty. When production lags, deterrence weakens. When deterrence weakens, risk rises. And risk never stays abstract. It reaches families, communities, lives. If a war lasts longer than planned, someone pays the cost. Not in spreadsheets, in time, in safety, in stability. You are told America is strong. That remains true. But strength is not just power. It is endurance. If weapons cannot be replaced, choices shrink. Leaders hesitate. Allies doubt. Adversaries watch. This is how miscalculation begins. Not from weakness, from delay. If this feels distant, it isn't. Because the price of unpreparedness is never paid up front. It is paid later. With interest, if you want clarity instead of slogans, stay with me. Because what happens next doesn't stop at borders. The ripple spreads globally. America's industrial delays do not stay domestic. Allies wait. Partners scramble. Adversaries plan. Supply chains are tangled across oceans. One delay in munitions. One shortage in components. And suddenly, entire coalitions wobble. Ukraine already showed it. Western weapons flowed but slowly. Every shipment mattered. Every pause had consequences. Geopolitics amplifies scarcity. Nations watch who can deliver, who cannot, and the message is clear. If America hesitates, influence wanes. If production falters, deterrence falters. And in a tense world, perception can be as dangerous as reality. This is why the industrial base is strategic, not just operational, not just economic. It shapes alliances, it shapes conflicts, it shapes the very balance of power. Because when the machinery of production slows, the world notices, and decisions on war, on peace, on power change in response. Next, we look ahead. 3 possible futures, from cautious recovery to crisis, and what each choice demands. The future is not set, it is a series of choices. Scenario 1, the high road. America invests steadily. Factories hum, workforces grow, automation fills gaps. The industrial base regains resilience. Wars are deterred before they start. Allies trust supply, adversaries hesitate. Scenario 2, the middle path. Investments are uneven, production improves slowly, some gaps remain. Wars are winnable, but at higher cost. Deterrence is fragile, confidence wavers, every conflict is a stress test. Scenario 3, the cautionary tale. Neglect continues. Small failures compound, factories close, skills are lost, adversaries exploit delays. Deterrence collapses, the cost is measured in lost advantage, strained alliances, and global instability. The lesson is systemic. There is no silver bullet. Technology alone cannot substitute for preparedness. Policy alone cannot substitute for execution. The choices made today echo decades into the future. America's strength is a product of design, yes, but more so of production, planning, and persistence. And now we bridge to the final reckoning. The insight that ties history, crisis, and policy together. And the call to act before it is too late. The time to act is now. This is not about predicting disaster. It is about preparing for it. It's about having the foresight to ensure that the United States remains unshakable in the face of challenges, not just in capability, but in execution. The past decades taught a hard truth. Power is not just in the weapons you design, but in the factories that produce them, in the supply chains that sustain them, in the workers who build them. America can remain the arsenal of democracy, but only if the industrial base is rebuilt, reshaped, and reinforced. This is not a call for nostalgia. This is a call for renewal. The choices ahead are not simple, but they are necessary, and they are urgent, because the world is already changing. And so must we. The future will be shaped not by the weapons we have, but by the systems we build to deliver them. This is the moment to act. This is the challenge we face, and it is a challenge we cannot afford to ignore. Thank you for staying with me through this critical journey. Now, it's time for action.